can you talk about contentment? Okay. So it comes back down to seeking your happiness on the outside of life, and seeking to be content and joyful and just happy by controlling things and steering things. And we know that life is, ever changing, and even if you manage to steer things and put them into place, that happiness only lasts, so long. It's temporary. And that's okay, because new experiences are supposed to come along. The trouble is when you steer and try to control life and put your circumstances into place to make you happy. Not only is your happiness temporary and it will soon fade, but you're living for outcomes. That is the greater detriment of this, is that you're living for a moment literally, in the future when you will be happy, and then you're happy, and then it changes, and then your next goal will set in, and your next focus on the next outcome, and so you live your whole life living for outcomes so you can have a quick temporary moment of happiness if you even achieve it. Often things are just so chaotic and life is moving at its pace, and you just can't arrange things to happen your way. But even if you can, it's just temporary. And to recognize that and be okay with that, right? To be okay with the fluidity of things. That starts to shift your focus to the present moment, right? Which is the only thing that's real. And so you're not living, if you're living for outcomes, you're basically spending, your 1% of your life will consist of happiness, if you even achieve it, right? Because those outcomes are just short-lived, and in the meantime, you're not really focused on who you are right now, how you're feeling right now, what you're doing, and for whom you're doing it. Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing things with your own self-love and your own self-care in mind? Or are you doing it to achieve certain outcomes? And that's where we talked about, how to be hard on yourself. That's where there's space for that, right? You're living for outcomes. There's space to be really hard on yourself. Lots of space, in fact, because that outcome can be, whenever. And so in the meantime, you're just not just controlling life and demanding things to be a certain way and getting upset when they're not, but you're also demanding that of yourself. So this focus on outcomes it never leads to the kind of the permanent, joyful outlook that all of us are looking for. So contentment, it starts with the moment-by-moment awareness, and it ends with your moment-by-moment awareness of who you are, what's true for you. That inner voice, it's not like you check within it, check in, and when you need a decision, like at will, that connection to your inner wisdom should be your GPS, your ongoing guide. It's always there. It's when you feel yourself disconnected from it that you have the means and you have the tools and you have the rituals to bring you back into connection with it. And that really brings you back to the present moment. So you're dealing with what's relevant to you right now, all your thoughts and feelings, that if you react to them, you go off into, an imaginary land. Filtered reality is what I call it, where you're not present anymore. You're literally in a different place. 5, 10, 20 minutes can go by, and you kind of snap out of those thoughts, the kind of those stories that we create, and we live in those, and they're completely irrelevant to what's actually in front of us and what's real. So instead of spending most of our life in filtered reality, it's noticing, having thought awareness. So bringing our awareness back into our body, where we are right now, connected to our inner voice.